Overcast with light showers over Scotland and Northern Ireland, heavy rain over southern England and Wales. LBC News Time, it's 9:03.
I am the chairman's wife, here to tell you about Galliard Home's outstanding new development, the Grove Eltham. Royal Blackheath Golf Club, Palace and Station are all within half a mile, and one can be in London Bridge in just 18 minutes. Galliard, the regeneration specialists for over 20 years, have once again pinpointed an area with excellent capital growth potential. Priced from only £250,000, these superb value apartments could be larger than the competition and potentially up to 10% cheaper. Attend our sales launch on the 6th, 7th and 8th of June at the Tudor Barn on Wellhall Road and exchange with only £2,000.
To register, call 020 7620 1500. That's 020 7620 1500 or log on to galliardhomes.com. That's galliardhomes.com.
Eltham, darling, not Eltham.
If you run a business and you're near a computer, type the name of your company into Google now. Chances are everything you find will be good. But all it takes is one negative review and your reputation on any kind of digital and social media site can change just like that. Reputation.com can manage and improve your brand's image online to make sure potential customers find out about the good reputation you've worked so hard to build up. For a free report on your online reputation and to find out how we can help, visit Reputation.com.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
With Hampton by Hilton. Refreshingly different, surprisingly affordable hotels.
This is LBC, leading Britain's conversation with Ask Boris. Mayor of London Boris Johnson takes your calls with Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850. This is Ask Boris on LBC.
Good morning, folks. It's 9 o'clock on Wednesday, the 4th of June. This is Boris Johnson bringing you your latest edition of Ask Boris on LBC. I'm here for the next 45 minutes taking your calls. Your chance to put any question that you like to me. Here's my coffee. Fantastic. So the numbers are, to get your question on air, 0845 6060 973 or email boris@lbc.co.uk. And don't forget, you can also watch Ask Boris in high definition on the website. Let's go straight to... I should say, of course, I have my trusty assistant here, Mr. Nick Ferrari, ready to interpose his considerable self, should you feel I'm being evasive in any way. We go first to Dave in Bermondsey. Dave.
Morning, boys.
Morning.
Boris, the cycles.
Sir.
I was coming back from Clapham Common the other day.
Yes.
Now, I've come through Clapham Common, Stockwell to the Elephant and Castle. Yeah. I thought I was in the Tour de France. I've been driving quite a long time, and I was quite nervous.
Go on, Dave. Are you by any chance? Are you a taxi driver, Dave?
No, I'm not.
You're
I'm
not.
a van driver. I'm a window cleaner.
You're a window cleaner.
Now, as it happens this morning, I come over Blackfriars Bridge, come to the lights. I'm coming over, going to the Old Kent Road.
Yeah.
I pulled up at the lights. There's a cycle coming alongside me, and he's holding on to... I've got ladders on my van. He's holding on to the back of the ladder.
Oh, you're joking.
I'm not joking.
Well,
I got out and we had a few choice words. Now, there's got to be some sort of registration with the bikes, because if they come along and take my wing mirror off, I've got no comeback whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it's quite easily done. You either give them a yellow jerkin to put on with the registration on the back of it, and if people are going to ring up and say, "Well, I have a backpack," well, you get covers now for backpacks in a yellow. So you can have the registration on that. There's got to be some sort of registration.
Okay, let me try and answer some of your points today, because I think you're speaking for loads of motorists around the city, taxi drivers in particular. One taxi driver said he felt like he was swimming with sharks. He said to me, because there were so many cyclists on the streets these days. And listen, I've got to be absolutely level with you and clear with Londoners. I believe in it. I'm a passionate cyclist. I think cycling is great for our city, and it is going up, and I think that is a good thing. But what is also happening, obviously, is a huge programme to make sure that we make the roads safer, and we're investing colossal sums in the hardware, the infrastructure of the roads, but we're also trying, and this gets to your point, Dave, about this cyclist, free riding on the back of your ladder, we're also being very tough on cyclists who break the law. And as you saw in the last couple of months since the spate of fatalities in November, the police have been doing something called Operation Safeway. And what they've been doing there is fining cyclists who jump the lights, who do crazy stuff like hang on the back of a van. And I think they handed out 14,000 tickets of one kind or another. The cyclists were cross, you know. I got a lot of abuse from cyclists when I was stationed at the traffic. I say, why are you persecuting? I'm not. What we're doing is trying to encourage good behaviour. And what's happened, actually, is that in 2013, the number of serious injuries involving cyclists fell 28%. The number of fatalities remained the same at 14. Obviously, that is one too many. But if you just go back in time, Dave, to when there were far fewer cyclists on the streets. You go back, say, to 1989, you had many more deaths, even though there were far fewer cyclists, and many more serious injuries. So I think the best way to tackle this is...
And not have registration numbers on jackets.
Yes, on that, I don't believe in that. I think that's just... It'll be another massive piece of regulation that would have to be enforced. It would be constantly broken. You'd have endless cyclists who weren't in conformity, who had just grabbed their bike and forgotten to put on their jacket. You know, it'd be just a nightmare.
How much is it a problem that for Dave to drive his van, for a lorry driver to drive his lorry, for a man to drive the bus, or a woman indeed, they have to go through fairly serious tests and pass various tests and written papers, even, and multiple choice questions. I can go and buy a bicycle this afternoon and I'm out there on the streets.
Yeah, well,
I think
as far as I know, you do have a bicycle already.
I do, but someone else could.
Which you use passionately.
I need to start using it a lot more, actually, Mr. But that's a side issue. Do you think there should be some form of bike test?
What we do also have is lots of stuff to help educate cyclists. We have a big programme of engagement with schools. We try and train kids about how to be road aware, and we do all that kind of stuff. But again, I mean, getting back to Dave's point about, you know, would you have a mandatory cycling proficiency test? Would you have a cycling
for children
test?
What would be the problem there?
Well, there are such things.
Mandatory?
No, not mandatory.
Would you make it mandatory?
I wouldn't, because I think that would be, again, you'd be intruding another piece of bureaucracy into the state. It would be very difficult to enforce. How do you tell that people had actually passed their proficiency test before they were cycling around?
Lastly, on this subject for now, Mr. Mayor, what are you going to say to Crossrail? It's been reported that a second cyclist has been killed in a collision with a Crossrail lorry, albeit some years ago. Obviously, there are a lot of Crossrail lorries on the road.
Well, that's right. I mean, Crossrail.
Have they all got the necessary monitors and sidebars and indicators and videos?
I mean, to the best of my knowledge, Nick, they do have all the kit that you would expect. So they have the sidebars, they have the Fresnel lens, they have all the stuff, the monitors, the reversing noises, all the stuff that you would expect from a lorry that's fit to drive around London. As you know, what we're trying to do now with getting Brussels and getting the Department for Transport in line is to turn the whole of central London into a safe lorry zone. So no one is allowed into that zone unless they conform. You're quite right that there have been two fatalities, I believe, involving Crossrail lorries. I mean, Crossrail is the biggest engineering project in Europe. It is huge. There are loads of lorries on our streets, I'm afraid, involved in Crossrail.
But everything that can be done with those trucks is being done.
To the best of my knowledge, and you know, I do urge people, you know, if they do see lorries driving recklessly, if they see drivers driving, then please get in touch and you know, dob them in. Frankly.
Dave, thank you. We move on to other calls.
Jim in Whitechapel.
Good morning, Boris. Morning, Nick. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you,
Jim.
Okay, I live in Tower Hamlets, and when we had the last elections, they was coming round canvassing. I had a Bengali man who knocked on my door, and then when I opened it, he then walked away, and then when I pursued it, it was for the mayor election.
Did you say, I insist on voting for you? Well, did you pursue him down the corridor saying, why don't you want my vote?
Boris, what annoyed me the most, I pursued the man, and then I said, excuse me, I said, why did you knock on my door? Yeah? And then you walk away. Yeah. And then I said, what's it? And when it was for the mayor elections, I thought, what, the white people ain't into you, that you're not... Yeah. And the annoying part is, when the Tower Hamlets first have got in, and he's got in again, and it's like, what is going on? It's like the people in Tower Hamlets, whoever we are now being forgotten, and it's like we've been overridden. Well, and nothing seems to be done.
Well, Jim, all I can say is, you would expect me to say this. You do have some excellent Conservative councillors there in Tower Hamlets.
Not really answering the question about the concerns with Tower Hamlets. It did take the best part of the week for the
on that. I mean, Jim was saying he felt that there was no one to speak for him, and he was feeling left out and forgotten. And there are loads of hardworking councillors, Peter Golds, people in Tower Hamlets, Jim, who will try and look after your interests. And I just urge you to vote Conservative. This is a democracy. That's the way we do it. I think everybody has been a bit concerned about some of the reports, frankly, irregularities in the voting.
Jim, go on, Jim.
Is it fair that when someone knocks on someone's door and they open up and they see it's a white person or whatever, then they walk away?
Well, those people, if they take that attitude, I'll tell you something, in the end they will lose. In the end, if they are going to base their politics on race or on discrimination in that way, and they're not going to represent people fairly, then they will not succeed in winning elections in the end. And I am concerned to get to the point that I think is at the heart of a lot of this. I think I am concerned about some of the reports of irregularities in Tower Hamlets. I know that the police are looking into a lot of stuff at the moment. In fact, I think there are so many reports of irregularities, it's quite hard for them to know, which bits to take.
How important is it that we get to the bottom of what might or might not have happened?
Hugely important. Why? Listen, what's the greatness of London? Why do people come to this? Because they believe in the rule of law. They believe that when our politicians are elected, they are fairly elected, and that there's no monkeying around with the electoral system. We've got to be absolutely clear that nothing took place in Tower Hamlets that could possibly cast doubt on the rightness and propriety of that election.
And you must have concerns.
And, well, obviously I've seen the reports. I've been briefed a little bit on the level of concerns. What I'm hearing from the police is that the volume of complaints is very high, but each individual complaint is very hard to stack up and follow up, if you see what I mean. So they're finding it quite hard, I think, Jim, to nail down some of the concerns people have. But obviously, this is, as I should stress, is an ongoing investigation.
Yes, indeed. We move on. Jim, thank you for your call. Let's move on to another.
Can we go to Cordelia? Cordelia, apparently you've got a zinger of a question because Nick's been very excited about this.
Go ahead, Cordelia.
Hello. Well, we emailed you a few weeks back and contacted LBC to try and get your support for our Teen Tech project idea.
Right.
Our team has been selected as one of the Teen Tech national finalists, which is due to take place later this month.
Oh, my God. Right.
Basically, our idea is a technology using radio frequency, which we hope with support will make cycling much safer. And we'd like to know if we can ask for your advice and support for our project.
Briefly, how does Teen Tech work, Cordelia?
It's trying to get younger teenagers to sort of think innovatively and think about how they can sort of create ideas that would help the future.
Okay, Cordelia.
It's a bad line. This is the 25th of June.
On the line. Yeah. Cordelia, thank you for taking the trouble to come back to me about this. In principle, we are very happy to support. Give us
Are
a
you
ring.
aware of this idea?
Well, I think I must be, because according to Cordelia, she raised it before.
Yes, she sent a letter to you. Do you recall having sight of this letter about Teen Tech Cycle Safety Project?
Listen, I'm going to put my hands up to this one.
So the finals are on the 25th of June. She would like your help to present the idea, not physically to present the idea, but obviously any backup you can give for these finals, because she's so motivated. She loves... I'm sorry, Cordelia, I'm having to talk to you, but your phone line's not good. She's a passionate cyclist. She, like you, believes in cycling. She wants more people to cycle, and she wants more people to cycle safely. She wants your help. She's a 14-year-old girl, by the way, at school.
Okay.
She wants your help, not physically help, but wants your support in the presentation.
Okay, listen, Cordelia, we'll do as you know, we are very, very keen to help make cycling safer in any way we can. Sounds like you come up with some bright scheme. We will make sure we'll pass it to Andrew Gilligan, our cycling commissioner. We go now to Ben in Wanstead.
Stay on the line, Cordelia. We'll make sure that happens. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Ben.
Thank you,
Go on, Ben.
Good morning, Boris.
Good morning, sir.
Boris, I'm in the very early stages of doing the knowledge to be a black taxi driver. I've been planning this now for 6 or 7 years. Saving hard, getting money together, because obviously it costs us money to go out there and train and become one of the marvellous London black taxi drivers. I am really, really upset and concerned, along with many others, about the Uber car situation.
Yeah, come on. Okay, yeah, absolutely. Well, let me say a bit about it, Ben, because I think I'm getting this. I took a cab the other night, and I was really getting, like everybody, everybody in TfL, people we're getting a big earful about Uber, and obviously I'm concerned about the black cab trade in the sense that I support it, I believe in it, I think it's an integral part of London's transport system. What Uber is basically offering is some way that you can get a mini cab using your mobile phone, as I understand it, Ben, and the conflict arises because the technology they use effectively means that your mobile, when you're travelling in the minicab, becomes the taximeter. And under the law, as we understand it, taximeters measuring your mileage as you go taximeters are reserved only for the black hackney carriage, for black cabs, and so that is the issue. Now, what we've decided to do, Ben, is to test that in the courts. It's something that I think the law needs to pronounce upon, because we're getting lots of conflicting advice, and I would like to see a proper interpretation of the law.
Okay, well, I mean, the law being the law, Boris, the fact remains, it seems to me that what I know is that go out, we train for.
Sorry, you train. I think you're saying again. We're having problems with the lines here. I don't know what it is. They train for a long time. Why should this man put in that time? I think in some instances, 2.5 years. These fellas do.
Well, first of all, I don't think anything is ever going to everything is ever going to replace the black cab. A black cab.
Well, this will.
No, it won't, because in the end, because you can't hail Uber in the street.
No, but you just get on you just use Uber, and the nearest minicab comes up. It is a form of hailing, isn't it?
A black cab is the only form of vehicle that can be hailed in the street. People like Ben have knowledge of a kind that you'll never get with a sat nav. They know all the shortcuts. They know how London really works. They'll get you there quicker. There's a very interesting piece, and I saw the other day in the Guardian, where they
read in the Guardian. I read everything.
I read everything. They road tested an Uber cab and a black cab, and the black cab got there faster and cheaper. So, I think it's very, very early to say that the black cab's days are being kind of threatened by Uber. Actually, I was talking to another cab the other night. He said he had his best Saturday night for 10 years the other night. So,
what about driving?
Well, as I tell you, never tire of telling you, Nick, you got to get more on your bicycle.
Yes.
But we are obviously doing what we can to smooth traffic flow.
And take another call.
Is it Chandra?
Yes.
Chandra in Croydon?
Yes, good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
This is my question is about your power. You don't have powers to build houses and things like that. The government is responsible for that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that you should use your influence so that you don't sell it to the multimillionaires abroad, people investing money. And secondly, your right to buy scheme, the 5% deposit scheme.
Yes, the help to buy, yeah.
Help to buy. That one, why did they introduce a thing that we are eligible for second-time buyers as well? Because it should be primarily for first-time buyers, and also they have at the limit of 600,000 is a lot of money.
I mean, Chandra, what you're saying, you want help to buy extended to second-time buyers. And would that help you in your particular situation?
Yes, because it gives other people come into the market and they are second-time buyers and they have enough money on the side to invest their own money.
Yeah, well, I mean
that pushes up the prices.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's noticeable in the last couple of weeks. I think you're starting to see some softening now certainly at the top end of the London property market, and that, frankly, is I think overdue. But what won't happen, I don't think, Chandra, is there won't be a huge fall in the value of property in London. That just if you look at the sheer demand for property, I think that is unlikely. On your point about don't help all the multimillionaires, and there's a lot of people around who are very concerned about that. I've got to stress a few things. First is the volume of homes being bought by international investors in London is still at around 6%, which is where it's been, for a long, long time, and that includes people from Ireland and whatever. So, what is certainly not acceptable is people buying homes as assets and then keeping them empty in Kensington and Chelsea or Westminster or wherever as a sort of bank balance in the sky. That is no good. And what we are certainly saying to councils who have powers to impose punitive council taxes on such people is do so. Whack up the council tax.
By what amount?
I'd like 10 times. Why not?
10 times.
10 times. I think they should have these. They should have. At the moment, they can do. I think up to 150%. But so far, I think only one of them has used that power. So far, I think only Camden has exercised that right.
But if I'm a rich Arab or Russian, why would I care?
Well, you might not, but it would certainly it would be an important revenue stream for the councils, and I think actually after a while you would care, and you would think, well, this is no good. I'm going to rent that flat. I'm going to rent this out to a Londoner. I'm going to make sure somebody can make use of that dwelling, and someone like Chandra who needs a place to live. But the way to solve Chandra's problem is not just to expand Help to Buy, which is not really taking off in London in the way that's taken off elsewhere in the country, because London has a massive shortage, and what we need to do is to accelerate our house building programme. And you're going to hear we've already done a huge number of affordable
How long
homes,
would the house be empty before the tax went up 10 times?
Well, that is going to be one of the difficult issues, because you also have to decide. I think a year.
A year.
Yeah.
So a house lies empty for a year. Council tax should go up by a multiple of 10.
At least, yeah. I think so, yes.
What, 20 then?
Well, it should be something that the owner would certainly notice. Now, what property lawyers will come back and say is they'll say this is going to be totally unaffordable. What about a flat which is the difficulty getting probate from a will?
An elderly widow.
Exactly, it's being held.
Well, you've just put her tax up 10 times. What are you, Vince Cable?
No, but I'm certainly not. But what I want to do is make sure we got homes for Londoners, and the second part of what I'm saying to Chandra
but these sort of
is we need to build hundreds of thousands of homes, and that's what we're doing.
Flats, aren't they, owned by these rich Russians? They're beyond the dreams of most average Londoners. These are multi-million-pound duplexes.
I know. You live over Blackheath way.
I do.
You? Right. Okay. Well, if you come in now through that part of London,
it's cranes everywhere.
Isn't it extraordinary?
Absolutely.
Now those homes, man, those are not being built for. Unless I much miss my guess, they are not being built for oligarchic plutocrats from the planet Zog. They are being built for Londoners, and they will be occupied by Londoners like Chandra. What we need. Also, we've got to remember in housing what's happening really is that we've been very successful actually in building affordable homes, right? 100,000 of those. We've built homes for market homes are, the top end of the market is going well. The people who are being squeezed are the huge middle of London who really want a place to own. That's what, if you do every survey, every poll, people 70, 80, 90% want to be able to own at least a share of their property. So what we're going forward to do, and I'll be talking about this a lot more in the next couple of weeks, we're going forward with a programme to build loads more homes for Londoners to own. That has got to be the goal. In addition to the affordable homes.
All right. We'll come back to your calls in just a moment. I don't know if you're aware, the local government minister, Brandon Lewis, was caught out yesterday, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, God.
He was asked whether you could recycle yoggurt pots where he lived.
Only after you lick the lid. You've got to lick the lid first. You've got to lick, and then you've got to lick the inside of the yoghurt pot.
Where he lives in Great Yarmouth. He said that initially he thought that you could, but then in fact he found out that you couldn't, so he apologised. You live in the London borough of Islington. Yeah. Can you recycle yoghurt pots there?
Only if you lick the lid very thoroughly, and then.
So you're saying yes?
I don't know. I think not, actually. I think.
Is recycling important?
Recycling is important. And
are you a keen recycler yourself?
We do. We do. I mean, we have the most elaborate bin system in the world. And
how many bins do you have?
I shudder to think.
Yeah.
There are three. There are three. Okay. I know it's pathetic. I wish I could pretend to you that they were all completely observed in the sacred way that they should be. But one of them is for vegetable stuff and what have you, food stuff, right? Does this sound broadly right? Then the other is for recycling.
Yeah.
And then the last one is for stuff that is beyond hope of any kind.
What on earth do you mean by stuff that's beyond hope? What, like the Labour Party?
That's it.
Is that where Ed Miliband hides out? And that bit there?
Somewhere like that, yeah.
So let's go through it again. So there's one for general research. Can I go through the colours, Mr. Mayor? Of your bins.
I'm not going to get the colour of my bins.
Well, I'll show you the colour in black. What am I? London Borough of Lewisham.
What colour are your
So
bins?
I've got a green bin in which newspapers go.
Yeah, no, we've got one. Yes, we do that. Yeah, absolutely.
So what goes in your green bin?
That sort of thing.
What sort of thing?
Well, recycling stuff.
You haven't. You tell everyone to recycle.
We do.
How important it is. Right. Yoghurt pots. Yes or no in Islington?
Well, I think we just sorted that out. We think yoghurt pots, unfortunately, are beyond salvation. So
wrong. You can recycle yoghurt pots. Yes. Wallpaper. Wallpaper. Yes or no?
I don't know. Pass.
Well, what do you think?
Yeah, why can't you recycle wallpaper?
Maybe you can. Yes or no?
Has it got too much glue on it? I'm going to guess no.
You're absolutely right. And the tiebreaker, light bulbs.
Light bulbs. You've got to be able to recycle a light bulb, haven't you?
Well, stop looking for help. Light bulbs, yes or no?
Why not? I'm going to say yes. Well, in the future, under my mayoralty, you'll be when we improve recycling.
Well, work to do, because currently in Islington you're not allowed to recycle.
Well, that's a defect.
You lose 2-1. We move on to the next caller. Thank you very much indeed.
Okay, Natalia in West Norwood.
I think it's my writing. Natalie, go ahead, Natalie.
Sorry, Natalie.
No, it's my writing.
Natalie.
Hi, Boris. I just wanted to ask, basically, your response. I'm not sure if you heard the story yesterday about the surgeon who suggested all nurses on the NHS have some sort of cultural training to kind of, learn the ins and outs.
Let me just fill that. This is a leading surgeon down in Southampton, Ayman Al-Zeltani, and he's talking about NHS guidelines so that you ensure that Muslim patients have their food presented with their right hand rather than their left hand, because it can cause offence. Back to Natalie.
Well,
Natalie, go ahead.
Look, I mean, my belief is that I believe in being polite, Natalie. If you can be polite to people, then you should be polite. But we live in England, and or rather more accurately, we live in London, and I think people should speak English. And broadly speaking, I don't think anybody should take offence if people do things that they've been accustomed to do all their lives, and when in Rome, do as the Romans do. That's where we are.
Natalie, what do you think?
We're not in Rome. We're in London. I just make that obvious point.
Yeah.
Natalie, do you agree?
Sorry, Nick, because that did you ask? Yeah. Do you know what? I'm a Muslim. I'm a convert, but as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't affect my religion or my beliefs. If someone gives me a packet of crisps with their left hand, it's not offensive. It is
I mean, let me tell you, when I go around, Natalie, obviously I shake hands with absolutely everybody I meet, say hello, and we talk things. And I know that sometimes Muslim women don't expect to shake hands or don't want to shake hands, and I just get used to that. And but that doesn't mean I don't chuck my hand out and see, because you never know.
All right, we're about to go to the news. Just before I do, Mr. Mayor, can you give us the latest on a story that's been leading the LBC Bulletin? This is the tragedy of, we understand, one fatality and a number of people injured in a bus crash in East London last night. What's the latest?
I can tell you a bit about that. I mean, what I can tell you is certainly that there's an investigation now ongoing into the circumstances. You've probably seen the pictures yourself and what appears to have happened. I mean, all I can really say without prejudicing any inquiries, it doesn't look to us as though at the moment the bus driver was at fault, but clearly there will have to be an investigation.
All right, there's more calls to Ask Boris, the other side of the news here on LBC. 9:30, over to Lisa Aziz.
A body's been discovered in the search for a missing British national in the Malaysian jungle. Gareth Huntley from East London hasn't been seen since going for a short trek last week. People living near this morning's crash between a night bus and a car that killed one person and injured another 13 say it sounded like an explosion. The N38 was travelling to Walthamstow Central when it collided with an Audi at around 2:20 a.m. on Lee Bridge Road in Clapton. Boris Johnson has told LBC that if political parties in Tower Hamlets base their politics on race, they will lose in the long run. London's mayor was responding to claims of voter intimidation in last month's election in the borough.
I am concerned about some of the reports of irregularities in Tower Hamlets. I know that the police are looking into a lot of stuff at the moment.
Pension reform will be at the heart of the Queen's speech later. It sets out the laws the government plans to bring in during the final year of the coalition as part of the state opening of Parliament. And you can listen to it here. LBC will be broadcasting the speech in full later this morning. At 9:15, the FTSE was up 1 at 68.36. And LBC weather, early cloud will break to leave sunny intervals for London and the south east with some isolated showers through the afternoon. Highs today of 18 Celsius, overcast with light showers over Scotland and Northern Ireland, heavy rain over southern England and Wales. LBC News Time, it's 9:32.
I'm Andy McCall in the LBC Travel Centre at Lower Clapton in East London. A104 Lee Bridge Road is still shut. It's investigation work in the clear-up after an accident between the Chatswood Road and Orient Way. Been hearing the headlines with a serious accident involving a bus and a car. Better news, though, from the A10 Kingsland Road. That's now open again, going south at Middleton Road after an accident much earlier on. The centre of London, the closures ahead of the state opening of Parliament remain in place. And now Victoria Embankment is shut from Embankment Station to Westminster Bridge. Around Parliament Square, Millbank, Whitehall and the Mall, all the closures closed there with long delays in the area. Delays on the south side of the Thames as well, including Lambeth Palace Road between Lambeth Bridge and Lambeth Palace Road, and Vauxhall Bridge stacking up going north. West Horsley in Surrey, the A246 Epsom Road, that's closed in both directions just by the street after an accident. Still issues here in Shropshire and Bonningdale, the A464 Holyhead Road, that's shut after an accident just near Cross Road. And for the trains, there's still no service on Heathrow Connect, revised Heathrow Express services between London Paddington and the airport. Keep you moving. Next travel updates is in 15 minutes.
LBC Travel.
With GoTo Meeting. Work smarter and strike a work-life balance.
This is Ask Boris on LBC.
We're going. Right, Ask Boris
we're back. Here we go. Who have we got?
Well, it's just a little moment that I carve out for myself, if I may, Mr.
Right. Go on.
To ask you, in the light of reports in the newspapers today that Theresa May has now emerged as the favourite to be the next leader of the Conservative Party, why are you now no longer popular with the Conservatives?
This is a debate of the highest abstraction, not since the early medieval dispute about the potential date for Easter has there been such an abstract philosophical debate. This is there is no vacancy for this post, and I think everybody concerned in the cabinet, and indeed myself, are rooting to get David Cameron back in 2015. By the way,
why has Theresa May gone up in popularity so much then? Up 15 points on last month, and you're rather mired still on 23% points.
I'm very happy to be so mired because at the moment, and indeed for the foreseeable future, for our political lifetimes, Nick, there is no.
You're in the
vacancy.
Relegation zone, effectively, and Mrs. May is roaring ahead as the veritable Chelsea or whatever it might be, Manchester City in the league.
Well, fantastic. I mean, and
why?
Because there is no. This is a completely meaningless, abstract consideration. Since David Cameron is doing
why is she popular
job.
And you're not?
Well, I think you've been kind enough to say that I'm mired. I'm mired at my current levels of unpopularity or popularity, however you want to put it. And and my job is to get on and do what I'm paid to do, which is run London and.
Yeah, but you said, why is she popular and you're not? I keep returning to this central point.
Well, search me, Gov. But these are. It's very, very good that there are the. Loads of Conservative politicians who are doing good stuff at the moment, and the most important point, I think everybody would, certainly everybody in the cabinet, I think would agree, and everybody outside the cabinet, all the MPs agree, is to all our MPs agree is to get David Cameron, David Cameron.
Right. Why did you decide, as it's reported, not to go on a special course so you could get back on the list of candidates for the Conservative Party?
Well, nobody's invited me to any such thing. Anyway, I thought, come on, this is my show. Let's talk about London.
You can ask me a question in a moment. Is it true you decided not to go on a special course to get back on the list of approved candidates for the Conservative Party?
Look,
as regards the seat in North West Hampshire.
You're bringing me news about all these things.
So that's not true.
Yeah, look,
it is true, isn't it?
There is no.
Why did you elect not to go on this course?
I wasn't even aware of the existence of such a course, or indeed any. I haven't even seen this story. My job is to get on. I think as our leader, our listeners appreciate. My job is to get on.
So no course was offered.
There are no courses offered.
You were never interested in North West Hampshire.
The only course that I'm interested in is continuing to reduce crime in London, which, by the way, is down on our transport system to the lowest ever level. Crime is silence. Crime is down over 11% compared to the previous year. The rate of transport crime has fallen to under 8 crimes per million. Passenger. Never happened before. There you go.
That's fantastic.
And we are on course to build 100,000 affordable homes.
Right.
We're on course to reduce tube delays by a further 30%.
And talking about courses, so that you're on those courses, but you're not on a course
to build.
But you're not on a course to become back on the Tory list.
New bridges.
Why would you go on a course? How hard is it?
I am on a diet.
All right. Before we go to calls, what should be done with the FIFA story, the fact that it would appear that their Qataris may have influenced the bidding process, and in turn the Prime Minister, David Beckham and Prince William have been lied to?
Well, the whole thing obviously was disappointing for the UK. I think it's quite important that we don't seem to be endlessly kind of crying foul and being
So we accept it?
No. Look, I think it's a fantastic piece of journalism, the Sunday Times thing. Absolutely fantastic piece of journalism, no question. And if it is true, and if the process was in some way corrupted by Dosh, and by the way, the idea when you go to FIFA, the whole thing is completely, quite self-evidently a racket in my view. But if you actually go to the Smersh-like headquarters of FIFA in Zurich or wherever they hang out, it is perfectly obvious that the thing is dripping with loot and bungs of all kinds. But in this particular case, if it does turn out that there has been skullduggery, dirty work at the crossroads of any kind, then the right thing must be done, and I'm sure it will be.
All right. How do you think England will fare before we take to the?
Yeah, well, I think it will. I think our strategy is very interesting
in the World Cup.
Yeah. I think we are suppressing.
Who's in our group? Remind me.
We are suppressing.
Remind me who's in our group.
Uruguay.
Yes.
Somebody else. Spain.
No.
Italy.
Yes.
Italy. Okay. Uruguay. Come on, I got some points for general credit.
When did we last win the World Cup?
1966.
And the captain was?
Oh, God, Bobby Moore.
Oh, well done. We moved to other calls. Costa Rica was the country you were looking for. Another call.
But I think it's interesting. What's happening is I've never known the collective mood of gloom to be. I mean, such negativity and pessimism.
It's tremendous, isn't it?
It's brilliant. It must mean that we're going to win.
Oh, don't do that. We're being realistic. We're not very good.
I am allowing. But I read a very good piece this morning, actually, saying that we might.
Oh no! Don't start that nonsense.
I'm starting to believe.
We must go to another call. Have you got a note on it, or shall I have
it? John in Sutton.
There we go.
Yeah, hi, good morning, Nick. Good morning, Boris.
Good morning.
I'm ringing regarding the HS2 grant, £50 million,
yes, sir.
£50 billion project.
Yep.
When are you going to apologise, Boris, to the opponents, the NIMBYs, as you call them, very crass and insensitive comments you made recently? When you're going to apologise to the people? They don't all live in houses along the rail route. Some of them live in
I understand.
Euston. You owe it to them to apologise for your...
Well, on Euston, I think what I said was if you look at what I said the problem with Britain was that we could have a completely different approach from the one they do in France. We don't compensate people anything like enough for the disturbance that they have as a result of infrastructure projects. I happen to believe, John, that you've got to do projects like HS. I'm afraid a country like Britain has got to continue to improve its infrastructure. Otherwise, we've been talking this morning about people delayed in traffic, all the problems people have getting around. Unless you have good infrastructure in a growing economy, the thing will come to a halt. So I'm afraid I do believe in HS2, but I believe that we should be much more like the French and cough up. We should step forward to people and give them the biggest possible check. And sort them out. That was what I was saying. And as for Euston, I've made it very clear to the government and to the Department for Transport that we will not accept Euston or the plans for Euston unless they are in the interests of London and unless they involve significant mitigation for the experience of people on that part of the city, and unless they involve a thorough regeneration of the area and a connection between HS1 and HS2. It'd be completely crazy to build HS2, spend £50 billion, as you say, John, building HS2 into London, and then not have a connection to the high-speed line.
Let's do some emails, texts, and questions coming in on the tweets here. Robert in Hounslow: would Vince Cable make a better leader than Nick Clegg?
Look, I think it's you're disputing the precedence between a louse and a flea, as Dr. Johnson once said. Who cares? It's a matter of cosmic indifference, in my view. But anyway, I think it's I think actually, let me go. Old Cleggy has done not a bad job. And
in what way has he done not a bad job?
He has served in a grown-up way to keep the coalition going and to make sure that...
So who's the louse and who's the flea?
Because, yes, I regretted that as soon as I said it. Well, I don't know.
Well, who's who? Clegg's the flea.
Well, I think the point is that
Clegg's the louse? Which is who? Where?
I leave it to you to decide. I leave it to you.
Well,
your rich imagination. Well, I think the whole point about the metaphor is that there is no point in making any distinction. So anyway, look, I think Nick.
Who would you rather have on a tandem?
Nick, actually,
if you had a tandem bicycle.
I know both of them a little bit. I've certainly spent more time with Nick. He's actually a very nice guy.
He's charming, man.
As I'm sure you would testify, and his wife is absolutely charming as well. And I've got nothing against Nick personally. And to be fair to him, he's done this country a great service.
But who would you want on the tandem?
By going into government and taking the hit, he decided to make the Liberal to take away from the Liberal Democrats that priceless virginity that they had. They'd never been sullied, never been contaminated by government, and then he put them into office, and there they are, and they're exposed for what, of course, they are, which is shabby deal-doing politicians, and he's paying a terrible political price. But I respect him because he's enabled the government to get on and cut the deficit, do the things that this country needs doing.
All right. Simon in Welling, now that they've opened the new Terminal 2 airport today at Heathrow, why don't you just accept the future for air travel is Heathrow?
Simon, I'll tell you why, because although it is great news that Heathrow is improving, and I have great respect for the efforts of Heathrow to make their service better. I think Terminal 5 is fantastic now. They've done a huge amount of good stuff. But the trouble is, Simon, it is just in the wrong place. It is never going to be ideally situated for London. Virtually every other world city is taking the big, bold decision to go for a 24-hour hub airport that is well situated away from the main conurbation, and we've got to think about that very hard. I'm conscious, Simon, that this is an argument that has got a long way to run, but it's a point I'm going to continue to make.
And last one from me before we go back to the calls. Companies have been invited to register their interest in replacing Barclays as the sponsor of that cycle hire scheme. How many companies have applied?
Well, more than a dozen have expressed serious interest, as far as I know, but I think there are 5 or 6 quite serious expressions of.
Okay. Was it £25 million? Is it?
Well, not for me to get into the commercial discussions.
Well,
now,
why not?
If LBC, because they're just pick anybody.
Roughly, what's it going to cost to go? There might be somebody listening right now.
People can.
There might be a rich oligarch who's come in and found out you've increased the tax to his house 10 times. Who wants to help the city out?
If you look at the deal we did with Barclays, it's obvious that it goes. The price then was about $5 million a year.
For 5 years, so that's a 5-year deal.
And that seems
to be
the
FIFA. Could they?
FIFA could. If FIFA want to sanitise their reputation, if they want to raise themselves in my esteem, they have only to pick up the phone and bung us.
Could put Sepp Blatter's face on the saddles. It would be rather good, wouldn't it? Why don't we move to other calls? We've got another call, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I don't know that we'd take FIFA, to be honest. But anyway, there you go. Peter in West Hampstead.
Hello, Boris. Only a rogue or a scoundrel uses the word affordable attached to the word housing, thanks to Grant Shapps, who has destroyed a word in the English dictionary.
Yeah.
And this is because you went to Paris. Well, not because you went to Paris, but you've been going to property exhibitions abroad, encouraging people to buy property in London.
By the way, as Ken Livingstone used to go every single year,
that makes it right, doesn't it?
He got kicked out.
Yeah.
Why did you do anything so absolutely catastrophically stupid? We have housing associations in London which are rubbish. They're spending their money on interest. We've got a situation which is getting worse and worse and worse. And you go abroad and encourage people to come to London and buy housing.
Okay. Well, let me try and explain. Just I don't know whether you were listening to the conversation earlier on, but the actual volume of property in London that's being sold to overseas buyers is I think running at 6% or less. Which is where it's been for the last 20, 30 years. So that hasn't changed. London is an international city, and I think it would be wrong for us to declare in some autarkic way that we're going to repel all international investment and hop off you frogs kind of thing. That is not the route to success for a great city. What we need is to build hundreds of thousands more homes, affordable in quotes or not. Actually, as I was saying earlier on to a previous caller, I think the people who are really being squeezed at the moment, Peter, is not just the people who can qualify for the so-called affordable homes, that's for homes for social rent or part-by-part rent or whatever, but the people who aspire to own a property in London or anywhere near it. And for them, life has completely changed in the last 10, 20, 30 years, and they can no longer afford homes in the way that their parents could. And that is a huge change in our society. People feel it. And they're resentful. And a lot of this resentment is, of course, turning against what people think of as international buyers, international investors. As I've tried to explain, the numbers of international investors are relatively low. What is driving up the prices is the sheer demand, the growth in the population, which is going to about 11 million by 11.2 million, I think, by 2050, 10 million by the end of this decade. It is going up very, very fast. 9 million by the end of this decade, 10 million by the end of the next decade. London is bigger than it's ever been before, or will shortly be bigger than it's ever been before. That is putting huge pressure on prices. The only answer is to build hundreds of thousands more homes. And that is also difficult, Peter, because although we say we pay lip service to the idea of wanting more homes, when we're told that they're going to be in our neighbourhood, and it means huge numbers of cranes, and it means lorries coming down the road, it means disruption, it means disturbance, then people are much less happy. So this is one of those very, very difficult things, but we've got to get on with it. Right. And the other thing, of course, is that Peter, people are very, very unhappy about the idea of building on the green belt, as indeed am I. And so you've got to work extra hard to get the brownfield sites, decontaminate them, and make them available for development. And that is what we are doing.
All right, a couple of last questions. One here from the emails. This is Alana in Surrey. How much is the continuing search for Madeleine McCann costing New Scotland Yard, and why? No other missing person gets this amount of police attention, particularly 7 years down the line.
Well, Ilana, I think the case aroused a great deal of public indignation and sadness. And I think it was felt that if there was any chance that the crime could be solved, or that Madeleine's disappearance could be explained, then it was the right thing for the government to do it. And I think that there would have been... I understand completely the point you make. And
how much has it cost?
People will... I can give you the figure later. I can't give you the figure off the top of my head. I'm sure the Met will be very happy to supply that.
OK, all right. Now, earlier we were speaking... or a few weeks ago, we were speaking with Lord Alan West, who's former Chief of the Defence Intelligence, head of the Royal Navy, Security Minister, and you may recall that you'd offered some support as well for the idea of a memorial for fallen Fusilier Lee Rigby.
Yes.
I can tell you that thanks to your good help, we are making some progress with that, and Mr Mayor will inform you subsequently of how that's going. But Lord West also highlighted something else which apparently he said you might not have followed up on.
Well, it's interesting hearing Boris being a bit nervous about something. For example, the 9/11 memorial, the largest bit of material from the Twin Towers, which was lying in a barn in North London. They couldn't find a site for it. Boris said on the wireless about a year ago, "Oh, don't worry, we'll put it in the Olympic site." It still isn't there yet.
Well, Lord West is on the right track, but I think there is a planning procedure that needs to be gone through, and before he...
Why is it taking so long?
In the fullness and richness of time, we will deliver this, but there is a proper planning procedure to be gone through.
Why does it take so long? I don't understand why it takes so long. You're the mayor.
Well, because although I am the mayor, and and we will find we have found a proper location for the 9/11 memorial, which is a great campaign which I support. It has not been possible, since I do not have, although I am the mayor, I do not have dictatorial powers. It has not been possible to impose this on London in the way that perhaps Lord West would like, because there are boroughs across the city who, for one reason or the other, were extremely averse to that suggestion, and boroughs in the end do have.
And which boroughs have been averse then? Tower Hamlets and Newham.
I don't think it's.
Which ones cover the Olympic site? Or 3 of them? No, 2 of them. Tower Hamlets and Newham.
Let me just cut to the chase and say that Lord West can reassure himself that everything will be.
So why doesn't Newham want this at the Olympic site?
I didn't say that.
You said that some London boroughs have been averse. Well, where else have you tried to take it? Bromley, Croydon, Bexley?
It'd be fair to say.
Driven it around on a truck?
No, there's been an effort for some time to find a home for the memorial, but that is now.
The London Borough won't step forward.
That is now been addressed.
So it has got a home.
It has got a home, but there is a planning procedure to be gone through,
so in which borough will it be sited?
Wait and see. It's all going to be fine, as it always is.
Where is it currently?
It is in preparation for installation at a site that will be revealed to you shortly.
No, but currently, yeah, I appreciate that. But where is it being stored currently?
I couldn't give you that exact information, but it will look great. And it will be a proper memorial for an event that shook the world and in which people died not just from New York but also from this city.
Yes,
and never forget, and I say this to people because there has been quite a lot of hesitation about this. I never forget that I think at least 69 British people died in 9/11. And it was an attack on democracy. It was an attack on everything we hold dear. And I think it's absolutely proper that London should memorialise it properly.
We must finish. We must let you go. So when can we look forward to this?
You can look forward to it in the fullness and richness of time.
Can we say within 2014?
Yes, you can.
It will be there. So by the year end, it'll be there.
Subject.
So that's a date in your diary.
Subject to planning procedures. There has to be a proper planning procedure.
Right, but your wish is that it's there.
That's my wish.
And another date in your diary, 25th of June, of course. It's the great London debate with me and London Mayor Boris Johnson. You can still go on the LBC website for that. Mr. Mayor, thank you for taking part. Ask Boris here on LBC.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
With Hampton by Hilton. From a great night's sleep to the perfect hearty breakfast.
Here's a little teaser to get your teeth into. 61% of people have been attracted to someone by just their one.